One of the strangest interviews I've watched involves so many people, coincidences, and overlapping claims that I had to map the entire chain just to follow it. This is a visual summary of Luigi Vendittelli's reported account. It is not a claim that every event has been independently verified. The biggest unanswered question is whether these people and information sources were genuinely independent. So what do you think? Contact, coincidence, shared information, or an elaborate hoax? Comment below.
Luigi Vendittelli says this part of the story began during a UFO lecture held at McGill University in Montreal. He attended with a friend who was a federal police officer with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. During a pause in the lecture, an unidentified man walked directly up to Luigi, already knew his name, and told him that a Montreal police officer wanted to speak with him. Luigi later met the officer at a cafe near Concordia University. The officer arrived in uniform and said he had responded to the 2010 Cavendish Mall UFO sighting. But he had something else to show Luigi. He described a separate apartment case involving several photographs of what a witness believed was a being. Luigi says he was later allowed to see the images only after agreeing not to distribute them. According to Luigi, the witness lived on the 14th floor. Her apartment door frame had been damaged about a week earlier, leaving a small gap into the hallway. One night, her Doberman suddenly became completely still, with its ears raised toward the door. The woman saw a shadow moving outside and took several photographs through the gap. She described a very skinny figure, roughly 3 feet tall, with a large head and large black eyes. She said its arms were positioned like those of a praying mantis, or possibly a bird. Luigi says 5 consecutive photographs appeared especially clear once the officer explained what he was looking at. But because those images were never publicly released, the rest of us are left with the same question. What, if anything, did those photographs actually show?
And that should have been the end of it. But then another witness entered the story, and her drawing looked disturbingly similar to the figure Luigi believed he had seen in those photographs.
The next part of the story begins with a woman named Sarah. Around the same time Luigi received the apartment photographs, he was given contact information for Sarah, a British woman living in Val d'Or, Quebec. At first, Sarah was too frightened to speak with him directly, so her boyfriend handled the call. He described a very skinny figure with a large head, black eyes, and arms held in a position that reminded him of a praying mantis. Then he emailed Luigi one of Sarah's drawings. Luigi says the drawing looked almost identical to the figure he believed he saw in the apartment photographs. That connection was enough to bring everyone together. Luigi already knew Benoit through a separate investigation involving reported black triangular craft. Because Benoit lived in the Laurentians, closer to Sarah than Montreal, Luigi arranged for the meeting to take place at his house. About a month later, Sarah and her boyfriend traveled there to meet Luigi. The gathering included Luigi, Sarah, Benoit, Donderi, the Montreal police officer, and several other witnesses and friends. The police officer attended because Luigi had told him that Sarah's drawing appeared to match the earlier photographs. Sarah shared more drawings and described reported encounters dating back to childhood. She also told the group that she believed there was some connection between the beings, religion, and Jesus. That was the point where Luigi says most of the room became skeptical. Then Sarah made a prediction. She told the group that at exactly 11:11 that night, a craft would fly over the house. Luigi says almost everyone expected nothing to happen. But when the time reached 11:11, all 9 people looked up. According to Luigi, a dark object suddenly appeared directly in their line of sight and flew over the house. Some witnesses described it as triangular. Luigi said it had a pointed shape, orange light, and unusual features along its sides. He says the Montreal police officer reacted with shock. Sarah remained calm and said, "Aren't they funny? They got a sense of humor." Luigi says all 9 people saw the same basic event, so now the question becomes much harder. Was it a prediction, a coincidence, shared information, or something else entirely?
That is where this stops being just a story about drawings and secondhand claims. 9 people were now saying they watched a predicted object cross the sky at exactly 11:11. Either Sarah knew something, someone arranged it, or the coincidence was extraordinary.
The next part of the story is where the name Lily begins to connect everything. About a month after the 11/11 event, Sarah came to Montreal before returning to England. While she was staying with Luigi, he took her to the apartment building where the earlier photographs had been taken. Afterward, they drove past St. Joseph's Oratory, and Sarah asked to go inside. Near the altar, Sarah told Luigi that she believed she might be the reincarnation of the daughter of Mary Magdalene and Jesus. Luigi says that was the moment he stopped believing her. But once they returned to the car, Sarah told him another story. She said she had once been taken aboard a craft and introduced to a baby girl. According to Sarah, she was told the child was hers and that she had to give her a name. She chose the name Lily. Later that evening, Luigi hosted a dinner at his home. The Montreal police officer was there, along with Donderi, friends, and other people connected to the earlier events. After most of the guests had left, the officer called Luigi and asked him to ask Sarah one question. Did the name Lily mean anything to her? Luigi says Sarah had only told him that name privately in the car. When he asked her, Sarah replied that Lily was her daughter in space. The officer then sent Luigi a photograph of a real little girl. At nearly the same time, Sarah showed Luigi a drawing she had made of the child she said she had met aboard the craft. Luigi says the drawing and the photograph appeared to show the same girl. When Sarah saw the photograph, she became emotional and said, "That's her." The officer told Luigi that the real child's name was Lily. Luigi later spoke with a friend of Lily's mother, and eventually with Lily's mother herself. According to Luigi, the mother said she had also been taken aboard a craft before becoming pregnant. She claimed that Jesus introduced her to a little girl who called her Mama and said her name was Lily. The mother later became pregnant naturally and gave birth to a daughter who, she said, looked like the child she had seen. None of this has been independently verified. But if Luigi's account is accurate, the question is difficult to ignore. How did Sarah know the name Lily before the officer revealed the real child?
And this is the part I cannot dismiss as easily. Sarah could have invented the story about a child aboard a craft. But if Luigi is telling this accurately, she used the name Lily before the officer showed anyone the photograph. That leaves only a few possibilities. She knew more than Luigi realized. The information had already been shared somehow, or the coincidence was far stranger than it first appeared.
The final part of the story introduces another woman named Emily. This was not Emily Trim from the Ariel school case. It was a different Emily, introduced to Luigi through the same unidentified intermediary who had approached him at McGill University. During the week before their meeting, Luigi says he kept noticing the number 444 on his phone and began taking screenshots of it. When Emily introduced herself, she immediately said that 444 was important. She then told Luigi that she had been directed to Montreal because of a little girl named Lily, a woman named Sarah, and a connection to Mary Magdalene. Luigi says Emily had not been told about his previous conversations with Sarah or Lily's family. That made the growing chain of matching names and details much harder for him to dismiss. Later, Sarah contacted Luigi from England and told him she would be visiting a friend in New Jersey. Luigi invited Emily to travel with him, and they met Sarah and her friend Ken at a bed and breakfast. During the visit, Ken suggested taking them to a crystal cave near Bethlehem, New Jersey. While they were driving, Luigi mentioned a number that had bothered him for years. 113.9. He says the number had appeared in a dream involving his father, and he had never understood what it meant. Sarah immediately told him it referred to the Bible, Psalm 113, verse 9. The verse says, "He gives the barren woman a home, making her the joyous mother of children." Praise the Lord. Luigi connected that verse with the stories he had heard involving women, unusual pregnancies, missing children, and motherhood. He says even the road exit they used was called Virgin Mary, adding another strange coincidence to the trip. After Sarah returned to England, she lived on Holy Island and remained in regular contact with Luigi. But over time, she became increasingly worried. She said she felt watched and threatened, and that unfamiliar men had been following her. At one point, Luigi received a long message from his own phone that appeared to contain meaningless letters. He says he did not remember sending it. Sarah told him that she no longer felt safe. Later, Luigi and others learned that someone had reportedly been threatening her. Sarah said she was going to keep a low profile. After that, Luigi never heard from her again. He tried contacting people on Holy Island, but says nobody could tell him what happened to her. For Luigi, the story ended without an answer. Was it a genuine connection between independent people? Was information being shared behind the scenes? Was it an elaborate, coordinated story? Or was something happening that none of them fully understood? Luigi says he still does not know. But the experience convinced him to stop investigating cases like this and focus instead on telling the stories.
After mapping the entire chain, I am left with the same problem Luigi was. The story contains too many matching names, numbers, people, and claims to dismiss without asking questions. But none of that proves that people were truly independent, or that the information could not have been shared behind the scenes. So what do you think happened? Contact, coincidence, shared information, or an elaborate hoax? Let me know in the comments.